Okay, we're gonna look at Fred Allen Wolf real quick this morning. I was asked about Fred Allen Wolf recently on my YouTube comments, and I noticed I'd forgotten I had bought Fred Allen Wolf's book, one of his last books. He's 90 now, so maybe he will have a new book published. But here's a list of his articles in ResearchGate, and it's kind of hard to search them in Google Scholar because there is another Fred Allen Wolf. There's like a couple of Fred Wolfs that are scientists or whatever. But anyway, I had not noticed that he had been published by Cosmos in History, which is the same journal that published my article that I submitted. I don't know, maybe that's why I originally submitted to Cosmos in History, because I'd studied, I've studied Fred Allen Wolf before. Anyway, so I was looking at his latest article in Cosmos in History, and he focuses on noncommutativity. Now, what's interesting about this is when I was rereading his time loops book that I have. What's the full title of that? It's like, let me see. Let's see what books he has that come up. He's got a ton of books. He's considered one of the hippie quantum physicists. He co-wrote a book with Jack Sarfati that I read, but Sarfati seems to kind of disown Fred Allen Wolf or disagree with him. I don't know. I'm sure they're probably friends. But there's interviews with Fred Allen Wolf about his claim about a dreaming universe and that matter is conscious and has self-awareness, essentially, and that this fits in with non-Western shamanism. So the question to me was, well, how legitimate is his claim about this, or is it just some kind of New Age claim? And so when he starts talking about non-commutativity, then I realize, wait a second, I think he finally figured it out. Okay, space-time and beyond is the I think this is what got turned into the cartoon, the animation book, or cartoon, or whatever. Bob Tobin. No, he co-wrote it that was co-written with Jack Sarfati. So this is the book that I have, Time Loops and Space Twists, and it was actually published in 2011. I think I have an earlier version that was 2008, somewhere. So in this book, he doesn't 2011, yeah, he doesn't mention anything. I have the hardcover. No mention at all of non-commutativity that I could find. It's very much a relativistic kind of approach to physics. I mean, he goes into quantum physics, but he starts out in relativity, and it's a really good popular explanation of relativity. So I found myself definitely caught up into his logical claims. I mean, it's a bit tedious but he relies on diagrams, so you're basically like reading and then looking at the diagram, and that makes it really easy, because normally when you read science books, it's all just equations. So anyway, when he focused on non-commutativity in his final article, which is published in 2018 in Cosmos in History, I was pleasantly surprised, because I'm like, oh, he's figured out the secret. So here he's talking about artificial intelligence, and he's saying he calls it an automaton holding a memory of two non-commuting observables. It can predict them both accurately. And then he says, The automaton is perfectly capable of, quote, knowing, that is, simultaneously holding in memory eigenvalues of non-commuting observables, in which, as I've said, such knowledge is in violation of the uncertainty principle. However, these are rather strange non-commuting observables, not the kind you usually find in your granddad's quantum mechanics. When you take into account that they not only refer to a state corresponding to an outside object, but also to the self-referring measurement of the state of the recording device containing that information. Hence, we have a rather unique situation here. As Albert pointed out, it seems that the state of knowledge of the automaton depends on its identity. Thus, we can postulate the speculative axiom it is necessary and sufficient that a violation of the uncertainty principle occurs within the boundaries of and in order for a system including its memory to possess self-identity. Or we can put it another way. Alternative axiom, in order for a system and its memory to possess self-identity, that is, exhibit self-consciousness, a violation of the uncertainty principle must occur within the given system's memory. What this tells us is rather amazing if you think about it. Assume for the moment that by the measurement recording abilities of the automata described here I mean the actions taken by the mind of an observer or perhaps an AI device in recording a memory of an event. What does the above axiom indicate about the way our minds take in information? By violating the uncertainty principle, it appears that we have returned to a classical world description, one where the actions of mind seamlessly play no role in their effect upon the objects being observed and measured. However, one shouldn't think that such a violation indicates a return to classical physics, but instead that in attempting to obtain a description of the world wherein we seem to be separated from it, our minds must operate, perceive, or hold memory as if classical physics pertain. That is, our minds perceive the world without perceiving themselves to be a part of it. In the world of the self-referring mind, where knowledge of eigenvalues of non-commuting observables can apparently be accessed, provided that knowledge includes self-knowledge, objects, including the self, appear to have well-defined values just as the objects of the classical world do appear to us. But there is more to this than just the appearance of classical values. The identity of a system, object plus automaton, depends on it holding this information intact. As long as it does so, it maintains and possesses a unique identity, that is, a distinction between it and another, for it holds information that cannot be accessed by an outside automaton / observer without disruption in an unpredictable manner. Although one could make a probability prediction of the information it contains. Moreover, attempts to dislodge such information would continually alter, as it were, the system's, quote, information boundary, the very distinction the system would make between itself and its objective environment. Hence, a distinction between the system and the objective world may relate to arises chiefly from its ability to hold onto this undisclosed information. So he's saying that noncommutativity proves that there is an individualistic identity that's secret to the external world. It holds this information, so to speak, in secret, and its secret holding, it becomes aware of itself as distinct from others that do not have privy to its holding. Its ability to be a separate thing implies the holding of, quote, secret knowledge. This is exactly what my own quantum physics professor focused on in his research about noncommutativity. He didn't call it noncommutativity, but it's the exact same thing, where he called it the donut, but it's that noncommutative torus, and that's what they use for quantum cryptography. And it got classified top secret when he's basically using two photons that have different frequency, but they're entangled, and so they effectively have spin 1/2, but also have a angular momentum as the polarization of the light, and that causes it to have this non-commutative inherent non-locality that's can't be messed with at all, and so it's inherently secret, because it can't, if you try to do any kind of measurement of it, it would change the value of the frequencies of the light. Hence, if I make a further leap here, objectivity, the mindful distinction of separate objects, arises from subjectivity, a holding of secret knowledge. So this is his big point about non-commutativity, that he makes the core secret of this paper, published in the same journal that I had an article published in about non-commutativity. So it's pretty exciting. I'm glad he came to this conclusion in what appears to be his final published paper. Let's see here. 2018. This is what I'm quoting. I'm quoting quantum mechanical automata, Gödel numbers, and self-referring consciousness. So this is also what Roger Penrose makes, basically the same argument, but Penrose does not make it from the perspective of non-commuting observables. But Fred Alan Wolf is making basically the same claim that Basil J. Haley is making, is that there's this level of non-commutativity that's a deeper level than the observables itself. But he's saying that proves that the subjectivity is the foundation of reality, as this non-locality that's active information, or what Bohm called active information. So it's a really fascinating paper. I mean, it's a really cool argument that he's coming at it from Gödel's incompleteness theorem. Okay, so 2018, and he's basically saying this proves that you can't have the matrix. Well, he's saying that we already, basically all matter already has a secret self-awareness that's what they call proto-consciousness, and Penrose uses that term from Bernard d'Espinay. Okay, so that's August 2018. This was number 1, 2018. I don't know when in August. February. Okay, so this wasn't the final paper. Let's see if he's got anything in here about non-commutativity. Nope. So that's pretty much all I wanted to say, is that he figured out the same secret that Basil J. Haley figured out about non-commutativity being the secret core of active information that's non-local and also so inherently secret as subjectivity. And therefore you can't have AI take over because reality already is self-aware. It's kind of a trippy claim to make. Yeah, so this later paper, not even going to get into it because let's just try to take a look here. He doesn't go into non-commutativity in this paper, so I'm not going to discuss it, but it's basically all I wanted to say is I'm glad. Well, he also emphasizes this dreaming universe concept again, where you have, inherent self-awareness that matter evolves into life forms through dreaming. And so what's interesting about the dreaming is he does an interview online where he talks about theta brainwaves, and so the REM, like a waking REM state, he says like how rats have proven to have this, and the sense of smell. So when you smell a new object, even for humans, when we smell something new, our brain automatically goes into a waking REM state of the theta brainwaves. And we have this also as the first breath and thought. When we wake up, we'll be able to be in that sense of smell, will be active, but then it immediately gets suppressed by our brain, by the beta brainwaves. When our thinking brain takes over as beta dominance, then all of a sudden we lose our sense of smell. Our brain suppresses the perception of that dreaming awareness. And so his point is that the dreaming awareness is, when we're babies, we dream like 80% of our sleep is in REM state, and that's what's organized in our brain development, because 90% of our brain grows by the age of 2. And so essentially during that stage we still have a unity consciousness with our primary consciousness of matter itself, that's self-dreaming. And he's saying that that's the truth of reality. But then when we develop this thinking brain as dominant with language, then we lose that awareness of the inherent dreaming of reality in that theta brainwave state. And that state is also precognitive, he makes in another claim, another paper. So completely like brilliant stuff. It's totally, I completely agree with what he's saying. And he gets into the closed time loop stuff, has to do with relativity more, and the paradoxes to deal with relativity. And so I'm not going to get into that, but yeah, he's got a lot of really interesting stuff. And here we go, it's the dreaming brain and free will. So he gets into the Libet experiments. Oh, funny. Yeah, so it's definitely worth reading. But I think it's only in that final paper of 2018 where he finally gets into the secret of noncommutativity as like his final secret that he emphasizes. Because I read one of his earlier books and there was nothing in there about noncommutativity that I remember. So, Taking the Quantum Leap, I think that was the earlier book I had. Yeah, and it's very possible he knows my quantum physics professor, because Fred Alan Wolf worked with Jack Sarfati, and Jack Sarfati knew this. Fred Alan Wolf was at Los Angeles, and Jack Sarfati was at San Diego, where my Herbert J. Bernstein was at. So, yeah, so Fred Alan Wolf, he's also known as Dr. Quantum. Dr. Quantum on YouTube, there's like a bunch of quantum animation cartoons that try to explain the mysteries of the double slit experiment as non-locality. Yeah, here's the book, Taking the Quantum Leap. I think that's the book, pretty sure that's the one that I was reading before. That actually my dad had that book, and so that's how I discovered it. So it's pretty cool that the journal that published me already had this article focused on noncommutativity. Yeah, so he's definitely related to Herbert J. Bernstein's research. But Herbert J. Bernstein, my physics professor, he was working at MIT and the Institute of Advanced Study and he was overseeing National Science Foundation grants. He was an administrator of grants, so he was definitely like an elite level in the quantum physics research. And that's why there's nothing with him on YouTube or anything, because he's like top. He knows his research got declared top secret, so it's like, why would he go on YouTube? Well, he was teaching all the time at a small college, so he was kind of his own world. Okay, so Mind and the Matter, the New Alchemy of Science and Spirit. Yeah, so I think I had this book for a while too. I might still have this. I gotta look. Here's this Dr. Quantum book. I had this book at one time, I know, way back. I think I probably like sold it back because I used to buy books used and then resell them back. So here's this Dr. Quantum book. But where's this book? 2005. So those are 20 years old. What is... He's got the book with Jack Sarfati. I want to find that. I don't even know if it's on YouTube or Amazon anymore. Starwave. I used to have this book too, Starwave. Mind Consciousness. So he's got a lot of books on shamanism. The body quantum. So he's basically like quantum biology. Yeah, they don't have his Jack Sarfati book. Let's see. I'm not going to go into... Sarfati, Fred Alan Wolf. I don't think they're going to have anything. Okay, how the hippies save physics. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I mentioned before. Yeah, they don't have that. See, the thing is that Jack said he co-wrote this book with Fred Alan Wolf, but then there was a later edition which does not have Fred Alan Wolf. Here it is, Space, Time, and Beyond. Okay, so that's the Bob Tobin. Oh, I wonder if Bob Tobin was... See, Fred Alan Wolf is listed as one of the authors. That's my point. So I read this book 20 years ago, and this was just sort of like corroborated my own experiences in the Qigong training.